Bond is a British icon, but he's a world citizen and he's beloved all over the world and he's iconic all over the world. And so what he looks like has to not just suit England and Britain, it has to actually be acceptable to the world.
In my opinion, the Dr. No evening suit is the most important piece of Bond's wardrobe. It's the first thing you ever see of James Bond on the big screen. Before you see his face, you see the silk turn-back cuff of his evening suit as he deals cards in a casino. And then you see the shawl collar of the lapel, and it isn't until his opponent asks him who to make the check payable to do you actually hear his name, Bond, James Bond, and see his face for the first time. I don't know that there was a conversation between Ian Fleming and Anthony Sinclair with respect to the wardrobe of James Bond for the first film, but certainly with the silk turn-back cuff. And that detail is something that Fleming wore on his own suits. So it's always been assumed that really that was a sort of sartorial nod to the creator of James Bond. Anthony Sinclair made suits for Terence Young, the director of Dr. No. And he was given the job of knocking Sean Connery into shape for the role as James Bond. So he took him to his tailor, Anthony Sinclair, and prepared him for the role. Connery's size and shape was a problem at the time. Ian Fleming was not particularly keen for Connery to play the role because he didn't think he looked sophisticated and elegant, being an ex-bodybuilder. Sinclair's tailoring actually softened the lines a little bit, and it gave him a more sophisticated look.
By the time you get to Roger Moore, they go for fashion then, and you get a different kind of tailoring and a different sensibility, which is to be fashionable.
Douglas Hayward was involved in bringing it back to being more sort of definitely British, sort of London tailoring. His thing was getting people to relax around him, and he made clothes for guys to be relaxed in. There's just a picture here of an ivory dress suit worn in A View to a Kill. And you can see that the coat has a kind of softness to it, which is a Hayward look.
Really, the idea at the beginning of GoldenEye, with Pierce Brosnan being the new Bond, was to try to think how to reinvent Bond for what was the 90s then, the late 90s. As a more modern Bond, I wanted him to look like he could go to Europe, spy industrially. So I didn't want him to look like an English gentleman or a military person. I wanted him just to look beautifully turned out. The situation with Bond wearing a Savile Row suit is the problem of action and stunts, and the fact that one suit translates into 10 suits, sometimes 25. So, it's a kind of really epic manufacturing process. And honestly, there was nobody in Savile Row who could have undertaken that in the time that you get to produce the costumes on a film. So I went to Brioni and I put it to them, the magnitude of what I was asking them, and they absolutely could do it. When you get to Daniel Craig, you've got a kind of mean cut. And I think that Daniel Craig is a sort of mean Bond, and that they've developed his character by making him very tight, and so the tailoring is pulling him in. Whereas with Brosnan, the tailoring is sort of gently lying over a slim, tall body.
The Bond look now influences how men want to dress. It's quite normal for someone to come in and say they want to look like Daniel Craig. It's usually someone who's like this big, but so I have a bit of a job on my hands.